Let me begin with a statement that may sound absurd at first. Most people do not fail due to a lack of faith, nor due to a lack of talent. They fail because they lack discipline. I have seen men who believed in God with fervor. I have met people with extraordinary dreams. I have encountered intellectual geniuses. Yet all of them got lost, simply because they had not learned to cross the bridge between dreaming and achieving. And this bridge has a name: discipline. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to dream on a Sunday night, and how difficult it is to get out of bed on a Monday morning? It is in this contrast that the difference lies between those who merely dream and those who actually achieve. We have all experienced this feeling, writing goals on a piece of paper, feeling a sudden surge of excitement, promising ourselves, "This time I will succeed." Then, when the alarm rings early, when daily life requires effort, when the emotion does not follow, the promise breaks. And here is the stark truth. It is not the lack of dreams that brings most people down. It is the lack of discipline to sustain them. Motivation is volatile. It depends on mood, weather, the opinions of others, and the moment you are in. Today, you feel motivated because you listened to a lecture, because you read an inspiring sentence, because someone said they believe in you. Tomorrow, when loneliness hits, when no one applauds, when results are delayed, that motivation evaporates. And this is precisely where discipline comes in, because it does not depend on circumstances. It is loyal, appearing even on days when you have no desire, when your body aches, when your mind screams to give up. I learned this by observing the great names I have interviewed throughout my life. Men like Henry Ford, who was not stopped by numerous early bankruptcies, or Thomas Edison, who experimented thousands of times until a light bulb lit. They were not driven by genius alone. What kept them steadfast was not momentary enthusiasm, but unwavering discipline to continue day after day, even when the world said it was impossible. And now I ask you, how many promises have you made to yourself and not kept? How many times have you looked in the mirror and said, "This time I will change," yet stopped at the first difficulty? How many goals did you write down in January and abandon before February ended? If this question moves you, know this: it is not a lack of intelligence, not a lack of faith, not a lack of talent. It is a lack of discipline. Most people do not need more ideas. They need more perseverance. I remember nights when I sat in front of the typewriter, exhausted, not knowing if anyone would ever read what I was producing. No one applauded. There was no audience, only silence. But it was that silence, sustained by discipline, that turned pages into books, books into philosophy, and philosophy into a legacy. Had I waited for motivation, you might not even be listening to me today. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. But contrary to what many believe, it is not a matter of talent or gift. It is a choice. Every day you have the chance to choose between following emotion or following discipline. Emotion always seeks the shortcut, immediate pleasure, the convenient excuse. Discipline demands sacrifice, but delivers fruits that emotion could never provide. Think of someone like Cristiano Ronaldo. He did not become one of the greatest athletes in the world simply because he was born with talent. How many talented players have you seen disappear without leaving a legacy? What sets Ronaldo apart is his almost obsessive discipline. Extra training when everyone else has left, strict diets, tireless repetition of fundamentals. He is living proof that discipline multiplies talent, and that without it, even the greatest talent is lost. Now reflect. What do you do when no one is watching? Because that is exactly when discipline reveals who you truly are. It is easy to post motivation on social media. It is easy to say, "I want to change." Hard is to wake up early every day to build what no one sees. Hard is to say no to laziness, no to immediate pleasure, no to distractions that steal your energy. Discipline is that silent commitment you make with yourself. It is the invisible contract you sign in your own soul. You may fail one day, but those with discipline return the next day. Those who are captives of emotion fail once and give up forever. That is why discipline always wins. It does not need to be fast, but it is inevitable. Now think of everything you have ever wished for, the dreams you carry within you. How many of them remain just a desire because you have not yet built the bridge that connects imagining to achieving? And if I told you that this bridge is within your reach, that it does not depend on luck, nor talent, nor circumstances, but only on your decision to act with discipline, what would you do today, knowing your tomorrow depends on it? This is the question that separates those who talk from those who live. Dreaming is common, but sustaining the dream is rare. In the end, it is not the most talented who arrives, but the most disciplined. Many believe that changing life requires earning more money, but that is a dangerous illusion. The world is full of examples of people who acquired great fortunes and yet ended in ruin. Have you heard the statistic about lottery winners? Nearly 70% of them are bankrupt within less than 5 years. How is this possible, when suddenly they had access to sums that could sustain multiple generations? The answer is simple, and at the same time painful, because they had no discipline. The money came in, but the mindset remained poor. And without discipline, any abundance turns into scarcity. Look at the case of Mike Tyson, one of the greatest boxers of all time. During his career, he earned more than 300 million euros, that is, more than 300 million euros spelled out, and yet he ended up in financial trouble. In US dollars, he was respected, admired, and feared inside the ring. But outside of it, he lacked the discipline necessary to manage not only money, but his own life. He surrounded himself with the wrong people, made impulsive decisions, and little by little, everything that seemed like an empire crumbled before the eyes of the world. It was not a lack of talent that brought him down, but the absence of discipline. And now I ask you, how many times have you received a salary increase, an unexpected bonus, or earned more in a certain period, and yet remained in debt? How many times has your standard of living risen faster than your ability to manage it? This happens because, without financial discipline, money becomes merely a mirror of our inner emptiness. It reveals your fears, your excesses, your lack of organization. That is why so many people spend to fill emotional voids, buy to be accepted, travel to escape from themselves, and in the end, remain in the same place, broken inside and out. I have experienced this myself. In my youth, when I began working on promising projects, I found myself facing financial opportunities that could have changed my story much earlier. But I lacked the discipline to stay focused and control my impulses. I invested poorly, trusted people who were unprepared, and squandered resources on things without purpose. I lost a lot, and it was precisely this pain that taught me that discipline is worth more than luck. I discovered that good ideas alone are not enough, and neither are good opportunities. Without the discipline to sustain them, even the greatest blessings become burdens. Today we know, based on behavioral research, that a large portion of the population spends more than they earn. Recent data shows that nearly 60% of people live at the limit of their credit cards and do not have an emergency fund even to cover 3 months of expenses. This means, statistically, that most are just one step away from financial collapse if they lose their job or face an unexpected crisis. And here is the truth. It is not the size of the salary that defines stability, but the degree of discipline in managing each resource. Think about how the richest and most successful people you know behave. They rarely waste. It is not about greed, but awareness. They know that every coin needs a purpose, that every investment must serve a goal. And it is precisely this discipline that separates them from those who are constantly chasing the next paycheck. Now reflect. How many times have you thought that money was the problem, when in reality, The problem was your lack of discipline in managing it. How many times did you believe that your life would change if you received a larger sum, but ignored that without discipline, any amount slips like water through your hands? Money is neutral. It does not transform character. It only amplifies who you already are. If you are generous, it expands your generosity. If you are disorganized, it amplifies the chaos. If you are insecure, it multiplies your fears. Therefore, do not blame money for what only your discipline can solve. Money without discipline is like fire in inexperienced hands. It can warm, but it can also destroy everything around it. And here is the most important lesson. What sustains prosperity is not luck, not chance, not talent. It is discipline. Without it, you may become rich for a time, but you will lose everything in the process. With it, even a little multiplies until it becomes lasting abundance. And now I ask you, have you been disciplined with the resources you already possess? Or are you just waiting for more money to solve the problem? Because if you have not learned to take care of a little, you will never be ready to manage a lot. The discipline that few see, but that completely transforms the life of those who practice it, is emotional discipline. It does not appear in spreadsheets. It is not measured by bank account numbers, and it is not recognized by diplomas. But it is precisely this discipline that supports the journey when everything seems to be falling apart. How many times have you given up on a project because someone laughed at your idea? How many times have you shelved a dream because the criticism was louder than your conviction? And how many times have you failed to act out of fear of judgment or rejection? The lack of emotional discipline destroys more dreams than the lack of talent or opportunities. Oprah Winfrey is a remarkable example. She was born into poverty, endured abuse and pain that could have suffocated any future. Everything seemed to conspire against her. But there was a flame, the discipline to believe, every day, that external circumstances would not determine her destiny. It was this discipline to keep going, even when external voices tried to silence her, that led her to become one of the most influential and powerful women in the world. And if you think about it, the difference between her and thousands of others who lived under similar circumstances is that Oprah did not succumb to the weight of emotions. I myself faced ridicule when I began talking about the philosophy of success. Many called me a dreamer, naive, someone lost in utopias. There were days when I asked myself whether it was worth continuing to write, whether it would not be easier to give up and live an ordinary life. But emotional discipline kept me steadfast. I understood that I was not writing for the critics of that time, but for generations yet to come. Today, looking back, I see that if I had given in to those voices, I would never have sown the seeds that transformed millions of lives. People often imagine that great failures come from poor financial decisions or lack of technical skill. But in most cases, collapse begins within. When you lack emotional discipline, every criticism becomes a death sentence for your plans, every obstacle becomes an excuse to give up, and every silence of recognition turns into an unbearable burden. However, when you cultivate this discipline, criticism ceases to be a prison and becomes fuel, doubt stops being paralyzing and transforms into a drive to grow. Modern research confirms this reality. Psychological studies show that people with greater emotional control not only manage stress better, but also achieve more professional and personal success. Not because they face fewer difficulties, but because they learn not to be ruled by fleeting emotions. In other words, while many merely react, those with emotional discipline respond. This is the difference between living as a prisoner of others' opinions or becoming the author of your own story. Now look within yourself and ask, how many dreams have you abandoned just because someone did not believe in you? How many times did others' opinions weigh more than your own conviction? How many paths did you give up because you lacked the emotional discipline to endure silence, loneliness, and even ridicule? The truth is, without this discipline, every new beginning will be just another unfinished attempt, But with it, even the darkest moments become foundations for growth. The world will not stop judging, criticizing, or doubting. The question is not whether this will happen, but whether you will be emotionally disciplined enough to continue anyway. Because, in the end, those who yield to the noise of the world do not build legacies. Those who maintain a firm commitment to what they believe in, even when no one else does, do. Discipline is not perfection, it is consistency. It does not require you to be right every time, but to always return. And it is in this silent repetition that the true miracle resides. Have you noticed how people love to complicate life? They invent magical formulas, wait for a grand moment, dream of an instant turnaround. But the truth is that the greatest transformations are born from small acts, repeated consistently until they become part of who you are. Discipline is the miracle disguised as routine. When I say it is the bridge between dream and achievement, I am not speaking metaphorically. How many of you have had brilliant ideas, extraordinary projects, but abandoned them halfway? Not due to a lack of intelligence or faith, but because, in the absence of discipline, the initial enthusiasm faded over time. The dream remained a desire, but never became reality. Discipline is the link that connects what you imagine with what you ultimately create. And here is something few understand. Discipline does not require immediate results. It trusts the process. While motivation wanes when results do not appear quickly, discipline continues planting, watering, nurturing, even when nothing seems to flourish. It understands that time is an ally, not an enemy. And for that reason, it always wins. It may take time, it may seem slow, but when the harvest comes, no one can dispute it. I learned this firsthand. I spent years writing, often without financial return or recognition. There were nights I considered giving up, but something inside me insisted on continuing. Every page written seemed too small to change anything, but together, day after day, they became books that reached millions. What seemed insignificant in a single day transformed into something great over the years. This is the power of discipline, turning the simple into the extraordinary. And for practical understanding, here is a challenge. For the next 21 days, choose a simple habit aligned with your dream. It could be waking up 1 hour earlier, saving a portion of what you earn, or dedicating 30 minutes daily to reading something that expands your mind. Do this without fail, without expecting immediate results. Just do it. At first, it will seem small, but if you maintain it, you will notice how the impossible begins to move in your favor. Life rewards habits, not intentions. Look at athletes who become legends, musicians who enchant generations, entrepreneurs who build empires. What they all share is not just talent, but an almost unshakable discipline. They repeat the basics until the basics become extraordinary. They understand that it is not about running faster, but enduring longer. And now I ask you, how many dreams have you left unfulfilled because you were waiting for the right motivation? How many times did you say you would start when you had more time, more energy, better conditions? Discipline does not wait for ideal circumstances. It creates favorable circumstances through daily practice. You may fail one day, but if you have discipline, you restart the next day. Those who live as prisoners of emotion fail once and give up forever. In the end, it is this consistency that differentiates those who only dream from those who achieve, those who only talk from those who live, those who only wish from those who conquer. Because discipline is true faith in action. It does not need to prove anything with words, for life itself will, over time, show the results. So I tell you, wait no longer. Choose today to cross the bridge that connects your dream to its realization. The decision is already before you, and the next step depends solely on your discipline. If there is one truth that must be engraved in your mind, it is this. It is not the dream that changes your life, but the discipline that sustains it every day. It is the silent bridge that connects what you desire with what you actually achieve. Therefore, if something here touched you, do not let it be mere fleeting inspiration. Turn it into action. And since you are committed to growth, know that this is only one step of the journey. In the next video appearing on your screen, you will climb another rung on your ladder of wisdom to become 1% better than you are now. I deeply thank you for walking with me this far, and I am already waiting for you in the next video.